Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back. I've made it. Unless you are new here, of course, in which case I would just like to say that I like to make these little videos about things that I enjoy and want to share, usually about film, and most frequently about horror, or maybe some throwback stuff to the 80s or 90s. And, also for those who are new, I've been revisiting two franchises. I'd seen both of them previously, but with both of them, some of those entries I hadn't seen since probably around the time that they first came out. And those two, of course, were Friday the 13th and the Nightmare on Elm Street franchises. So I've made videos covering each one of those titles that I went over for each one of those franchises, and I will link to that within the description. And now I finally reached the end for Freddy versus Jason, where everything kind of comes together. It's the last entry in those franchises so far, not counting reboots and remakes, of course. But before we begin and dive in, if you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing and hitting that little bell icon to get notifications for when I put up new content, which is usually once or twice a week. Hopping in within that first hour to check out the video really does help out a lot, as does checking out that back catalog and sharing both this video and channel around after you've stuck around to the end of the video. Honestly, all that stuff really does help out quite a bit. Okay, now that all that's out of the way, so yeah, we've been coming to the end of these franchises with Freddy vs. Jason now from 2003, the synopsis for which is as follows. Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees return to terrorize the teenagers of Elm Street, only this time they're out to get each other too. Okay, well that one didn't really cover in my opinion, but basically Freddy's gone. Nobody really talks about him or knows about him, so of course nobody's frightened of him. So without that fear, he's lost his power to be able to keep on killing. So he works some stuff so he can have Jason resurrected to start killing again on Elm Street. The plan is that once he starts doing these killings, people will start talking about Freddy Krueger again, thinking it's about him. He'll start to get that power back. However, Jason just keeps on killing. So he's kind of preventing Freddy from getting some of these kills. He lines up to try to get them in their dreams, but then they've already been killed in the real world by Jason. So that's what's going to eventually bring everything toward the end, where Freddy and Jason are now squaring off against each other. So this title has been talked about since the 80s, and it took way too long for them to really get this one going. Kind of like Black Widow, it's a bit late to the party, and it doesn't really fit after the events of the other films, such as with Jason X or, with Freddy's Dead and Wes Craven's New Nightmare. So I kind of consider this one similar in some ways as far as timeline to Fury Road, where it's just another tale with these characters that happens sometime within their existence. But anyways, pulling all that timeline stuff aside that I didn't really even want to read into, what we still get out of this is a very fun and interesting film. It's definitely more balanced than some of the previous installments in either one of these franchises. They're definitely not as scary as the earlier entries in either franchise, and it also does not turn Freddy or Jason really into the stars as much as they've done in Freddy's Dead or in Jason Takes Manhattan, where you're not only not scared but almost rooting for the bad guy. Overall, it balances those scares and humor and the story pretty well. Because honestly, since it's so late in the franchise, I don't feel like there's much of a way to actually be frightened of either one of these characters at this point once you've seen them in this many films. So there'll be some jumps and a little bit of scary stuff, but nowhere near what the earlier films had. But as far as the cast of characters, the ones being affected kind of by this showdown, everything works pretty well with that. But we do get one who for some reason is basically leaning into his stoner character so much it was basically an impression of Jay from the Kevin Smith films the entire time. We also get a couple problematic quotes. At one point, Freddy referring to an African-American woman as dark meat, and then her dropping the F-bomb, meaning sexual orientation, against Freddy. So it's kind of weird to see that, because they definitely refrain from putting that in films these days. But we also get, we get quite a few characters to try to get to know. They kind of fill up the cast pretty quick. But in true horror film fashion, of course, some of those are basically just fodder for our bad guys. We might feel a little bit of a connection to them, feel a little bit sorry when they die, but we know they're basically put there to be, involved in some interesting kills. And, before we move on from those main characters, of course, we also have a cameo from Robert Shea as a high school principal, as well as Evangeline Lilly in one of her early roles just as an extra, as a high school student, kind of in the background of a scene. But, you know, though ultimately this one is a bit watered down, you know, just compared to earlier entries in the franchise, it still works much better than some of the later entries in this franchise, and I was fully on board with this, and this rewatch kind of showed me that it's held up over all these years and it's still a lot of fun. But yeah, it was a long wait, but you know, we finally got this one to what I feel is a much better send-off for those characters than what I'd seen in the previous Final films, you know, for anything else with, you know, Freddy's Dead Final Nightmare, or Jason Goes to Hell, or Jason X, which is like 400 years in the future or whatever. But yeah, I really feel like they did a much better job trying to give us a fun send-off for these characters. But as for the franchises themselves overall, you know, the final entry for the Friday the 13th films, you know, I've got my final thoughts on that, which that's in one of the final videos, which I will link to. But a quick summary, you know, I really feel like with the Friday the 13th, part 1 through 4 are probably the best. I still find 6 to be a lot of fun, as well as, you know, 8, 9, and 10. You know, you could still have some fun with those, but ultimately those first 4, I think, is where all the quality is. As for Nightmare on Elm Street, definitely parts 1 and 3 are the best, I would say. Those are my favorite, and I'd put Freddy vs. Jason just after that, kind of online with like part 2, A New Nightmare, you know, not really being as scary or as engaging, but still a lot of fun to check out. But yeah, you know, that's about it for it, actually. You know, it's been a crazy long journey that I started this summer with the Friday the 13th films and ending now with Freddy vs. Jason. You know, so thanks for sticking around to the end of this journey and through the end of this video as well, as it really does help with the channel a lot. Be sure to subscribe and hit that little bell icon to get those notifications, because I have some more videos coming out in coming weeks. And one of the things I'm going to be doing is revisiting some remakes that I either haven't seen or just haven't seen in a long time, such as Friday 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Evil Dead, and a few others kind of thrown in there. And I'm also going to continue to try to keep up with the Monday and Friday postings at least, with occasionally putting an extra one on a Wednesday or Saturday. But anyways, that's about all I got for this one. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video and to the end of this series. I'll see you in the next one, and have a happy Halloween.